I think the train got a long line here.
I got a question. What's that? Those crossbars were down the entire time we were here. Did they hit anybody through? No.
Oh my gosh!
I didn't see anyone at the crossing during the layover until now.
Have they never?
It's true. They were down, but I didn't see any cars there while we were there. They probably just showed up now. Who knows?
That's why they didn't know the area.
I've been like, I know. It's only been an hour. They'll never believe it.
They could technically back up the train a little bit more. Excuse me.
They have a fish right there.
I heard a whistle.
Is there a fish in here?
No, she's going fishing.
She's learning how to fish. Definitely gonna put the door on.
Practicing that crash or whatever, you know, they had to do it one time. Yeah, either there or I don't know if you can see out there.
That's a kayak place right there.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's okay, we were going another train ride where we carried your own. Their train ride goes local. Well, they've got the other train ride goes to Little Feathers, or it goes to Murphy. The other train ride.
Whoa, that was a close one.
I'm not sleeping on the train. I'm not sleeping on the rest. You can't sleep.
Whistle? Sorry to decide what mom and dad. I can see your Feed him first.
You make me miss my.
I see real fans.
I just cut down my.
Right.
They said I wasn't pretty with it that long. I got tired of people trying to sit on my lap all the time.
That's what they call me at work. I cannot see your eyes track. As long as you stare directly at mommy,
It's not being bad set.
she will not be able to track.
I had to do that in the hood.
Me, on the other hand,
There's the other engines.
me on the other hand, she'll know when I wink.
Yeah,
That's when the caterpillar on the top.
lift your eyebrows up and down. She'll know where I'm.
It's like it has to be. It has to be.
I know why you can't get any girlfriends. Because if you're winking like this, your eyebrows are constantly going up. You were just like, you're all right.
This is a wink.
It has to be a full head.
It's like that is like. It's like has to be the most obvious wing of all time. It's like. It's like a blink and then a wink after.
I don't recommend it. Guess whose glasses those are?
Cannot see that.
You don't need those inside.
No, that too.
You don't need those inside.
There's a fugitive.
Coming back to haunt me.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to be going through the tunnel. If you have any infant or if you feel that you need to get out of the smoke, you can come in the chesty cab, because we should be going in the tunnel here in the next few minutes. So if you feel that you need to get away from the smoke, please come to the chesty cab or step in the Cherokee. But chesty cab will be your best bet.
Smoke gets trapped.
Yeah. Oh.
Smoke gets trapped in the tunnel.
Right.
Well, grabbing a nice.
That guy's stuck in the water. That guy's stuck in the water.
He's fishing. Those look nice though. I see kayakers too up ahead. There's kayakers up ahead. You see them? Nothing like a romantic train ride. Nothing like a romantic ride. Aw.
Like that. Just sticks up. To me, it sticks up. It's just like it really sticks up. More each way. It's like that from the I never thought with it sliced like that, that they would actually.
They're never gonna eat it.
You know what I mean? That they would probably say that they feel bad, but it sticks out. It's red. Oh, I thought it was something to do with the train, maybe. What do you think you're going to film ahead of when we go in the tunnel?
I'm gonna pause when we get in the tunnel.
Oh, just
I'll let it go pitch black first and then I'll pause it.
is it paused right now? Is it playing?
It's playing. You can pause it. See where there's a pause button?
Okay, it looks like I'm smart.
Yeah. See kayakers.
There are many like it, but this one is mine.
We'll be crossing the river into the tunnel up after it just up ahead. Oh, there's a good view.
I don't want to say anything, but it's going to get dark.
What about the lights?
It's all right. There you go. You take a little bit of Mountain Dew. You can have that right there. That's exactly right. Yeah, throw darts at it.
Three, two, one. Here we go. How's that? Are you doing the whole breath thing again? Oh, yeah.
glad we went a little bit faster that time.
Here's a better place for review. You're good, sir. You're good.
Can't stay out on this one too long.
Oh, okay.
You can come out right here. Stay the minute off right here, alright?
All right, thank you, sir.
Here's it now. But we don't let people stay right here anymore. The door's that way.
All right, sorry about that.
Yeah, alright.
Sorry about that. Woo! Uh-oh. Look at that. I know, right? Check that out. Got a good view everywhere.
Nice. Barely breaking a sweat. Yeah, we usually don't have so much help. Tony and I